Hola, hola. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Welcome to, of course, HOPE, Hispanas Organized for Political Equality's 27th Annual Latina Action Day. Can you believe it's been 27 of these important seminars, informative, of course, super important during these times. My name is Sandra O'Neill, and I'm the morning news anchor here at Telemundo 52. Of course, it's my pleasure to be part of the seminar and be your host and your moderator for today's third and final conference session. I know some of you have been participating in all three of them, and I hope you have also enjoyed the conferences so far. Over the past 2 days, HOPE has centered the experiences and priorities of Latinas in discussions about California economic recovery as we rebuild from the pandemic, of course, and about also closing opportunity and equity gaps in education in light of the inequities the pandemic brought for so many of our students. Therefore, it is an honor to be part of HOPE's. This seminar is so important. Thank you for inviting me, ladies. It's been a pleasure. The previous time I was with you was an honor, and this time as well. If you're just joining today for the first time, welcome. If you are obviously here for the third time, you're in for another special treat. And today we will take our ongoing discussion about centering Latina voices even farther as we dive into what investing in Latina leadership in California would look like and the positive impact that increasing Latina representation has in our community. Before I welcome our first powerful Latina speaker, let's review a couple of housekeeping items. We're in the webinar session for Zoom. So if you would like to interact with our fellow attendees or you would like to connect with the HOPE staff, you can add your comments in the chat box, or you can also send us questions ahead. We're going to have an opportunity to ask the panelists your questions. So you can put those in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of the Zoom. So thank you very much for participating ahead of time. Like I said, I will let you know when we will start with those questions. You can also access supplemental materials as speaker bios for today's session by visiting HOPE's website. That link is being dropped in the chat box by HOPE staff right this minute. And we'll also be wrapping up our program at around 10:45 a.m. And if you would like to see the recordings of these sessions in our Facebook page or Facebook page of HOPE, you can also see them there or on their website. Now, without further ado, it is my honor to introduce our first special guest of the day, San Diego County Supervisor Nora Vargas. Supervisor Vargas was sworn in on January 4th, 2021, an elected vice chairwoman. She was elected vice chairwoman of the board, and she has also broken numerous glass ceilings throughout her career as the first Latina to serve on the California State Teachers Retirement System, and also as an elected member of the president of the Southwestern College Governing Board. And now as the first Latina and first person of color to serve in the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. She's also an alumna of the HOPE Leadership Institute and the HOPE Binational Fellowship, and a former HOPE Board Chair. Welcome, Supervisor Vargas. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Buenos días a todas. Me da muchísimo gusto estar con ustedes. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. It's an honor always. As Sandra mentioned, my name is Nora Vargas, and I'm so proud to be the first Latina, first immigrant, and first woman of color to serve on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. I think all of you who know me know that I've been part of HOPE for over 20 years, and HOPE has a very special place in my heart. The organizations, the friends that I've made along the way, and the networks that I've been able to create through HOPE are just very unique. I always, when I do my trainings every year on the campaign, you know, how to run for office and why we need to be elected into office, and we'll talk about that some more. I always say to folks that, you know, HOPE and my HOPE sisters often believed in me more than I have ever believed in myself during very difficult times. And so throughout my journey, in 1999, I think is when I first went to my first HOPE meeting. And throughout the decades following that, I've learned to understand the power of lifting each other up, right? Working together and really making sure that our voices are at the table. And, you know, I try to remind everyone that representation matters is not just a hashtag. Our voices and our experiences really do make a difference in helping shape public policy and influence the decision-making process. I have served as the first in many different roles along with my career, as it was mentioned, right? Whether at CalSTRS or at Planned Parenthood, an organization that I love dearly. For a long time, I took for granted what it really meant to be at the table. And I always said, well, no pasa nada, right? If somebody else can come in and all that. But I know now, and I'm reminded every day of the importance of being able to sit in a room where most of the people don't look like me or like many of us, especially people who have access to power and are able to influence where resources are distributed. So now more than ever, during these difficult times, it is critical to lift each other up, to work together, and to make sure that our voices are heard. Because, we've heard this before, right? If not us, who? And so I just want to say that I'm so grateful to Hope and to Hope's leadership and supporters for investing in Latinas across the state, but also for investing in me. I'm a graduate of the 2001 Leadership Program, the first binational program as well, as you heard. And through Hope, I have served on numerous committees. I've served on the board of directors as the first Latina board member from San Diego for Hope, and I'm the first board chair from San Diego as well. And so, what I'm really proud of is I'm not the last, right? I may have been the first, but so many women from San Diego and Southern California are now representing Hope as well. And so, like I said before, this organization has vested a lot in me, and I have also been committed to investing in the organization in every role that I have served. And I'm inviting all of you, I invite all of you to do the same. If you are in an organization that's going to invest in our community, invest in Hope, because what Hope is doing is building a network of transformational leaders, right? Transformational leaders are serving the legislature, corporate boards, nonprofit organizations. They're teaching and raising beautiful babies, the people who are going to continue to lead us in the future. So in the end, what we are doing is changing the fabric of our communities with a lot of heart, mucho corazón y con mucho cariño. I have found that one of the most important tools is to have the power of reallocating of resources and connecting that to policymaking process. And so a lot of people talk about equity right now, and they talk about, use your knowledge and daily experience to bring that to the table. That's what equity means to me. And so I really want to emphasize how important it is that we are making those decisions, that we are the ones that are thoroughly bringing our experiences to the table. So today, you are going to be able to hear from a panel of extraordinary justice warriors. I'm a fan of all of them. It's unfortunate we're not able to be there in person, because one of the powerful things of this organization is the ability to make those connections. But let's use our technology to our advantage. Take advantage of the power of these relationships, building and connecting with each other, with as many people as you can through Hope. And I hope today you leave with the idea that you should reach for the stars, dream really big, and create the network that's going to help you achieve your goals. Congratulations on day 3, Hope. I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic day. And absolutely, every one of you make sure that we invest in Latina leadership, because we make a difference every day to make sure our communities are better. Muchísimas gracias y que tengan un muy bonito día.
Gracias a usted, supervisora Nora Vargas, por acompañarnos esta mañana. El placer es nuestro. Usted me inspiró a hablar un poquito de español.
Qué bueno, me da mucho gusto.
That's my strength, as you can tell. No, thank you very much. English is my second language, but I love speaking it. It makes me practice as well. So thank you, supervisora, for everything that you do and your leadership. Definitely your leadership. Well, we're talking about the topic of leadership and the topic of powering Latina leadership. And our next guest represents Latina Action Day co-title sponsor, Amazon. I'm pleased to welcome Brenda Palomino. She's the manager of public policy for Amazon in California. In this role, Brenda oversees statewide legislative issues and policies such as labor, physical retail, and online marketplace, energy, transportation, environmental, and climate change. Brenda, thank you for being here with us, and it's your turn. Take the floor.
Thank you, Sandra, for that kind introduction and for all that you do to inform, enlighten, and empower our community. And what remarkable and amazing remarks from Supervisor Vargas. Thank you so much for that. That was great. And a very good morning to all of you who are starting your Wednesday fighting for our community through this virtual advocacy day. Whether in person or via Zoom, I know hope is heard in the corridors of power because we are united, we are fierce, and we are Latinas. On behalf of Amazon, let me especially thank Helen and the entire HOPE team for putting together this tremendous show of strength and for making sure Latinas are at the table day in and day out. Before I dive into my remarks, I'd like to share with you a quick personal anecdote of my first experience with HOPE. Many years ago, new in my career, the first event I was asked to attend for the firm I worked for at the time was a HOPE reception during Latina Action Day. As a young and very timid professional, I remember feeling nervous and anxious about attending my first ever work event. However, those feelings quickly subsided as I met and was embraced by so many kind, impressive, and truly fierce women. I remember feeling inspired, proud, and empowered. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my... And empowered by so many Latinas with such inspiring backgrounds and accomplishments. It's a feeling that still resonates with me, and so it is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to speak with you all this morning on behalf of Amazon. Amazon has set the goal of being Earth's best employer, to serve our employees and to raise the bar across corporate America. Last year, we hired 500,000 employees and now directly employ 1.3 million people around the world. Even in states where the minimum wage is just $7.25, every one of our American employees earns at least $15 per hour, which will be California's minimum wage starting in January 2022. But I want you all to know that as a company, we're advocating for that to be the federal minimum wage. I should also note every Amazon employee receives industry-leading benefits, including paid family leave on day one. But here's what hits home for me the most. Amazon prioritizes equal pay, and it publicly reports pay between men and women. And if you look at the last several years, women have earned between 99.5 and 101.5 cents for every dollar earned by men. That makes me proud, and that should push other companies to get on board. Small businesses are absolutely essential partners. In California alone, we work with 240,000 small and medium-sized businesses and independent authors. Overall, 1.9 million small and medium-sized businesses sell in our store, and they make up close to 60% of our retail sales. The truth is, our success is their success. In 2020, we invested more than $18 billion and launched more than 250 tools and services to help our selling partners manage and grow their businesses on Amazon. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Amazon sellers saw a 55% year-over-year growth in sales. We are thrilled that women business owners have participated in this growth. In fact, in response to a recent Amazon poll, 48% of businesses selling in our US stores said their companies are women-owned. We are proud that Amazon provides women around the world with entrepreneurial opportunities across retail, delivery and transportation, books and publishing, and technology, and we are proud to be a part of their success. These sellers reflect the diversity that makes our nation and our state truly great, and so should our state capital, which is why I am proud this morning to announce Amazon's full support for Senate Bill 702. Thank you, Senator Limon, for your leadership, and we look forward to working with HOPE as you strive to get this bill enacted into law. Again, thank you for welcoming me here today. Thank you for your advocacy and for your empowerment of Latinas and for elevating so many Latina leaders in California. I look forward to working alongside you to improve California and set the standard for America. Thank you, and with that, I will turn it back over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. Thank you for everything that you do, for the representation that you do in your company towards Latinos and women in general. Thank you. Our next speaker is well-versed in issues of Latina representation, and we're thrilled to have a special message of support from her. We're talking about Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, who was elected in May of 2013 to represent Assembly District 80 in the San Diego County. Ms. Gonzalez is the first Latina in California history to chair the Assembly Appropriations Committee. She's also chairwoman of the Select Committee on Women in the Workplace. Over to Assembly Gonzalez now for the speech.
Hi, I'm Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, representing California's 80th Assembly District. Those are the communities of South San Diego, San Isidro, Chula Vista, and National City. And I want to welcome you here to your final day of Latina Action Day. Latina representation has never been more important. Despite the fact that we represent 1 out of every 5 individuals here in California, we lack representation in nearly every aspect of life. Whether you look at STEM and engineers, doctors, lawyers, judges. Whether you look at equal pay and how far behind we are. Whether you look what's happening in Hollywood or in the music industry. Latinas are still fighting for representation. That's why we started the Unseen Latina initiative, to make sure we had a voice and intentionality about where we belong in this state and what we demand for our future. Latina voices are essential in Sacramento, and what you're doing here today will help us in those efforts. I want to thank you for being part of a movement and being part of a forced representation. And I want to thank you for being part of claiming back our day. Happy Latina Action Day.
And thank you to Assemblymember Gonzalez for this message. Gives us definitely hope and obviously that there will be change in the future. Now I'm excited to kick off our panel, Representation Matters, Boldly Investing in Latina Leadership. And we're joined by some truly stellar Latinas who are leading the charge and the change in their fields to increase Latina representations in positions of leadership. I will introduce each one of them. They will be brought into the virtual stage, and then afterwards we'll start with the questions. First, I want to welcome Cynthia Guerrero. She's a partner at California Strategies LLC. And Cynthia is widely recognized for her work in advising companies on corporate strategy, regulatory risk and policy, and working collaboratively with them to achieve goals and overcome any crisis. She also works tirelessly in Silicon Valley, advising world-renowned companies on how to navigate state and federal government legislative and regulatory process, which often trails innovation. She's also an executive member to the advisor to the Latino Corporate Directors Association, whose mission is to develop, support, and increase the number of U.S. Latinos and corporate boards, which is one of our missions here in the seminar today in Hope. Welcome, Ms. Cynthia Guerrero. Thank you for being here. Also, we want to invite Sophia Garcia. She is the Geographic Information System, GIS, and Outreach Director for Redistricting Partners and lead presenter on civic engagement and local redistricting. She's an experienced GIS analyst with a proven track record of interpreting political and geographical data to empower communities. She most recently worked for the Dolores Huerta Foundation, where she used GIS data and organizing as tools to impact local redistricting. Sophia is a nationally recognized leader in using GIS for equity and social justice and serves as the co-vice chair of the ERISA Pro Equity Social Justice Equity Committee. Welcome, Sophia. Also, Celinda Vázquez is our third panelist. She's vice chair of the California Commission Status of Women and Girls. And Celinda is an accomplished public affairs leader with extensive background in government, advocacy, public policy, electoral campaigns, and communications. She currently serves as the Vice President of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood, Los Angeles, and has a proven track record of creating successful strategic, policy, and programmatic change with diverse teams. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here today. You all have an impressive backgrounds, and I know expertise in some of the areas that we will definitely benefit from for these following questions. And our first question is, in California, the Latina population is notably young, entrepreneurial, and resilient, and Latinas are the future of the state and the leaders of today. However, California's government has yet to see Latinas ascend to the highest offices or even have fair representation on corporate boards. To kick off our panel, each of you, if you may, please talk about the work you do as it relates to representation. And for this first question, I would like to start with Ms. Cynthia. If you can tell us about the work you do with the Latino Corporate Directors Association.
Thank you for the introduction, Sandra, and thank you to Hope for hosting this important discussion on why Latina representation matters. As an HLI alumna, I'm very honored to be here today. I'm an executive member and part of the Board Ready Institute at the Latino Corporate Directors Association. LCDA is a national membership organization that promotes C-level and board diversity. Our mission is to increase the representation of Latinos on corporate boards, including the tracking of Latino directorships on public company boards. LCDA serves as an advocate and resource to corporate boards, search firms, private equity, institutional investors that are interested in gaining access to exceptional Latino board talent. Following the enactment of SB 826 and AB 979, LCDA has been committed to publishing a quarterly California scorecard tracking the progress of both bills. And in doing so, we hope to create more accountability of publicly traded companies to meet the moment and understand why Latinos, and particularly Latina representation on corporate boards, matters. Earlier, I mentioned that I'm part of the LCDA Board Ready Institute, and this program is within the organization that is designed to prepare and position highly credentialed Latino executives and national leaders for a corporate board service. There is no other program for this scope that's focused on accelerating and developing the placement of board qualified executives that come from variety sectors and professions onto the highest levels of corporate governance. So I'm very happy to be here and representing the Latino Corporate Directors Association, and look forward to the discussion with my colleagues.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Cynthia. Now, Ms. Sophia, if you can please share with us about your work, the work that you do with the redistricting partners, and also a little bit of context for those who are unfamiliar with the redistricting.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so honored to be a part of this panel and this 3-day conference. I've met so many wonderful people. Yeah, as I was introduced, my name is Sophia Garcia. I'm the GIS and Outreach Director with Redistricting Partners. And Redistricting Partners is a firm that specializes in redistricting, and we've conducted that with local governments and other organizations. But before I jump more into my background, I want to just take a step back and give some context about what redistricting is. So all of us filled out the census, I'm sure, last year. And this year is legally mandated and in our Constitution that every jurisdiction that has elected representatives must redraw their boundary lines to make sure that we adjust for the new population. If you guys have been following what's been happening in the redistricting world and census world, we know that California has lost a congressional seat, and we know that other states have added seats. And so now we will start the process of redrawing those lines when we get more of that data at the end of the year. So when jurisdictions make a faithful effort that's based in transparency and that's based in collaboration, then this process of redistricting and drawing new boundary lines gives our communities an opportunity to elect members who really represent us for the next 10 years. And I started my background in redistricting when I worked at the Dolores Huerta Foundation. And so I came at redistricting from a social justice mindset, from an equity mindset, from a community first mindset, from challenging and working with local jurisdictions to think about communities first and not incumbent protection. And that's really similar in the role that I do now. I met my current boss, Paul Mitchell, when I was working at the Dolores Huerta Foundation, advocating for community members to be heard. And now I get to do that at a larger scale. Redistricting Partners, we're working in over 10 states across the country. And my role is to lead our outreach efforts and to ensure that all of our clients are working transparently, that we're giving ample opportunity for the community to come and speak. If a community member chooses not to speak, we want to make sure that it's their own right to not speak up versus not having the ability to, or not having access to either an online link or an in-person meeting if that happens later in the year. And so I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper on what redistricting is, but this is really your opportunity to help set new boundary lines and new opportunities for more representatives for the next 10 years. So excited to dive deeper and excited to be here.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Oh, you bring up a very important point that we discussed in the news this week, the loss of a representative in California. Right. We weren't the only state, but it was definitely just a hard hit. And we know there was definitely many issues with the census last year, pandemic, closures and just other barriers that the citizenship question. There was definitely many reasons why a lot of people didn't feel comfortable participating in the census. But let's go now with Ms. Celinda. Ms. Celinda is a commissioner of the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Could you please share with us, what does this entity do? What is its mission? What does it mean for Californians?
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Cynthia and Sophia, and to Helen and the team. It is an honor to be on this panel and to have heard from the previous leaders. It's just an incredibly powerful space for us to come together, and I hope that next year we can be together in person. So the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls works in an inclusive manner to really advocate for women and girls in California before the governor, the legislature, and other organizations. And the policy pillars are actually very much in alignment with HOPE's policy pillars. And they are those of economic security, educational access, just equity in education, equity in healthcare. And so we have really, for many years, have had an agenda that is centering women's issues. The other day, we heard from one of our assemblywomen, and Wendy Carrillo, and she talked about childcare. So childcare and the issues that really are impacting women, and in particularly how these policy issues impact women of color. We know that right now during the pandemic, women have really been impacted disproportionately. Working women, or working parents that are women, Latinas in particular, who are taking care of both their children and their family, their elderly family members, or just parents of their own parents. And so, one of the things that, in terms of why representation matters, I think about the first time I joined the Commission on the Status of Women, and the Commission is made up of different public members that are appointed either by the governor, the Senate Pro Tem, or the Assembly Speaker. In my case, I was appointed by the Senate Pro Tem, and we also have the opportunity to have legislative appointees. So we also heard from Assembly Member Luis Gomez the other day, and she's also on the commission. So it's a great mixture of public members with different expertise. And what I wanted to say is that when I first joined, I remember asking the question, do we center undocumented women? What are we doing for undocumented women in particular? I was interested in that naturally. It's been a passion of mine. It's been a lived experience for so many of our family members, ourselves even. So I think that's really what the power of being able to be appointed on a commission or a board allows, is for our own lived experience and our subject matter expertise to come together to really push, like Supervisor Vázquez said today, to really push on what the priorities are going to be. How do we center the voices of women and girls? And in particular, when we are in crisis, that is what this commission does. And it's been an honor to work on behalf of the commission in the state. And personally, I've been a part of other efforts professionally through Planned Parenthood on this 501c4 side, as well as just in my own, my extra time in coming out of Prop 187, understanding the power of why it matters to have women, and worked with the United Farm Workers as well, and why it's important to have just women in these positions, whether it's a commission, whether it's on the boards, the C-suite, in redistricting conversations, in census efforts.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Vázquez. You bring up very important points, definitely regarding to the undocumented, the priorities, and we hope we can actually bring up more questions regarding to that a little more ahead in the program. For now, we would like to go to this other question as the same way. I will bring up the question and then I will assign each of you a different set The Latino community is the largest demographic group in California, with 39% of the population, and half of which are Latinas. And in certain parts of the state, such as Fresno, for example, the Inland Empire, Latinas are 1 in 4 of the population. There is no disputing that the future of California is dependent of the success of Latinas. Now, Ms. Celinda, we go with you first. In your opinion, how prevalent is the Latina voice at decision-making tables in Sacramento? What else is needed to ensure that our voices are heard?
Thank you. Yes, I think to piggyback on my own remarks just a few minutes ago, I think that what we've actually seen in Sacramento, so many years ago, many years ago, I was a staffer. I became involved in politics, as I said, and policy issues in the early 90s when Prop 187 was on the ballot in 1994. And then I had the opportunity to go to Sacramento, and after I graduated from college, and I was a Senate fellow. And I'm only sharing that because back then, there was a really good amount of Latinas that were members of the legislature. And it was the early 2000, I think, 99, 2000. And, we really saw the impact of having Latinas in positions of elected positions and chairwomanships, and what that really meant for the policy priorities and how they moved through priorities in a different way. And I was able to see that firsthand. I worked for then Senator Martha Escutia, who was also the chair of the Women's Caucus and became the principal consultant for the Women's Caucus. And so I had the distinct opportunity to see that. And they were very clear about what their priorities were. Women in prison, women, childcare, again, issues that of course are important to others, but there is nothing like a woman who has gone through, a Latina that has had a lived experience and that can speak from a lived experience and has the policy expertise and the political expertise and the corazón, again, going back to what Supervisor Vázquez said, to push the policy pillars that will create equitable change in our state. And I think that for many years, we saw a decline in Latina representation. And, I think we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is that? So the question is not that we don't have the most amazing body of Latinas. If you think about HLI and the mujeres that come through this program, it's a fierce pool of bright, prepared movers and shakers. And so we have a pool of women that can run for office, but we did see a decline. And I think we need to ask ourselves, why? What are the economic indicators? What are the familial, responsibilities that women have to consider differently still in 2021 around running for office? What are the personal sacrifices? We have seen an increase. Today, we do have the benefit of having more Latinas in the legislature. Again, I think we need more. We are a majority of the population in the state, the great state. And I think we need to continue to have programs like HLI, like the programs that Cynthia, the work that Cynthia's doing and Sophia's doing to really prepare women. And it's more than just going to a seminar, right? Here are the nuts and bolts of running, which we do need, but it's also having a village of people that you can really, you can go to, the village of, let's say, HLI, right? Hope. I think we need to be at more tables. I think we need to be unapologetic about our policy and political agenda. And I don't think that the work will ever be done until we are at all tables. And, we know what happens in communities that impact us in many ways, and we have to fight. And one of the ways that we can do that is really making sure that we support Latina candidates. And, you know, and that also means resources, right? So I remember, and I feel like I'm name dropping because all these people really have been part of the HOPE work and the HLI work and the legacy that this organization has contributed for Latina representation. And I remember trying to wrap my head around fundraising. Fundraising is a critical component of running for office. And in many of our communities, you know, my parents, I didn't know what that was like, you know, to contribute, to be a philanthropist. We barely had money for food on the table, right? So in this business, raising dollars is a way to get into office. You have to do that. And I remember now Secretary Javier Becerra saying, you know, it's an unfortunate system, but if you're asked to play baseball, you don't bring your basketball. We got to learn how to do this. And I think this is why it's so important to have organizations like HOPE really provide that training ground so that we can get more Latinas in Sacramento, in local office, like in the supervisorial races, school boards, all of the levels of government. So we can also springboard into statewide office. And also, we don't have to springboard into statewide office. Men do it all the time. They're born and they think that they're eligible to run for office. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ms. Celinda. You brought up definitely some of the points that we have in mind. I'm a mother of a teenager, you know, she's a 10th grader going into 11th grade. And I couldn't think of anything better than the programs that are there to guide them, to inform them of what's ahead. You know, if they want to get into public service, I mean, they're teenagers, they don't have their mind set on something specific all the time, and it might change as they go to university. But it's so important to have that lead, and HOPE being one of them, obviously, in this field. So thank you, Ms. Celinda, for those points. And we would also like to talk to Sophia about the redistricting, the impact that the Latina participation might have in the redistricting area. Sophia, if you could talk to us about that.
Yes, of course. And I want to kind of echo something that Celinda was saying about we need to learn how to be a part of these processes, and redistricting is one of those. It's something that happens once a decade. There are very, not a lot of firms who specialize in this. So you have a few experts, but it impacts everyone across the country. So there are a lot of avenues that everyone can be involved in the redistricting process. But to your question, Sandra, about Latinos impacting the process, we've already seen the impact in our state commission. So California is one of the few states across the country who has an independent redistricting commission. And what independent means is that we have a body of 14 citizens who went through a rigorous process to get elected and appointed to the commission board, and they are in charge of redrawing and finalizing our congressional seats, our state assembly seats, our state senate seats, and our board of equalization seats. And in the process of finalizing the 14 commissioners, when we first had the 8 commissioners, there was no Latinos a part of the board. And you already heard an uproar from state community organizations, from local leaders across the state saying we need Latinos on that board. We know that there's been huge growth. We know that there's different pockets of Latinos across the state. And so when they seated the final 14, we now have 4. So 4 of the 14 board members are Latinos. Another notable thing for Latino participation is there is a community-based redistricting alliance called the Integrated Voter Engagement Redistricting Alliance. They've been very vocal at the state level, and that includes notable organizations like the Dolores Huerta Foundation, CAUSE, the Advancement Project, California CAUSE, which is a statewide alliance. And not only are Latino organizations really important, but I think in this conversation too, we need to remember coalition building, and that we may be a really populous group that we still have our Asian Americans, we have Vietnamese, and we have Filipino, we have our Black Americans. So also coalition building is really important. So that's why that alliance is very notable. Another notable thing is that we have the opportunity in this redistricting cycle to create 10 new majority minority or 8 new Latino state seats at the congressional level. And so that's a really important thing. And though that state commission is meeting right now, they're meeting on a very regular basis. But we also need to remember that every single local elected board is redistricting. So all board of supervisors, all city councils, you have high schools, you have community college districts, you have water boards. And so there's an ample opportunity to be involved in to really target when you're going through this process. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of information. What can I do? What can I ask? There is a new law called the Fair Maps Act, which mandates cities and counties to have more transparency and mandates more criteria to allow for the public to be a part of this process. Every city and county will have a dedicated redistricting website that will be your one-stop shop for all redistricting for your county. When any map is talked about or proposed, it has to be posted 7 days prior. I think I heard in some of the previous conversations, maybe before this call went live, that someone was on a call at 8 p.m. last night. And if you've ever been to a public meeting, you know that some meetings can last until midnight, 2 a.m. And so for our cities and counties, when any redistricting topic is talked about, the time that the redistricting process will be specifically talked about will be available on the website. So if they say they're going to talk about redistricting at 2 p.m. and it's a meeting where they have other things, they have to stop what they were talking about and start the redistricting process at 2 p.m. They have to work with communities. And so this is a really amazing law that passed. It does not mandate for any other jurisdiction to follow these criteria. However, this is an advocacy point. You can advocate for your high school district, your college district to say, there is these new best practices in the redistricting world. We would like for you to follow the criteria of the Fair Maps Act. And that's what we do at Redistricting Partners, is we advocate and try to talk to our clients and say, this is in your best interest. Following these criteria will make sure that we have that open, transparent process to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, or an opportunity for a voice to be heard. 2 other things that you can think about that are tangible is in this process, we need your input. We need your community testimony. But there's 3 sort of questions to think about when you're giving testimony that's specific to redistricting. The first one is, does your community have a shared culture or interest? But because we're talking about redistricting, which is geography, you also have to think, is there a shared geography? Can you map it? And then the third one is, what, if any, is the common interest related to your jurisdiction? Is your community impacted by the Board of Supervisors, by their policy, by what they vote on? And so those are the 3 questions, and we can share more about what communities of interest is, and every jurisdiction should have a worksheet. And then I'll wrap up with this final thing. Another thing to note is how your board is going to adopt their lines. There's different processes that every jurisdiction can take. The alliance that I mentioned earlier, the IVE Alliance, or the Integrated Voter Engagement Alliance, we expect that they will submit full map plans to the state and local jurisdictions. So your local jurisdiction can uplift a community plan. They can have their line drawer do a live line drawing during a public meeting, or they can ask for the, or they can just do it where the incumbents ask the demographer to take all of the testimony that they listened to and create draft plans. So their redistricting can be specific and a little confusing, but again, the website, and there's ways that you can advocate. And if you would like to be a part of that process, we can point you to those things. But yeah, just again want to echo that while this might be a process we're only familiar with once a decade, it is something again that impacts everyone across the country, and there's so much opportunity to advocate and be involved in this process. And I mean, we all did a lot of work on the census, so this is just a continuation of that, a continuation of trying to get more representatives who look like us to be elected. So
I would say goes hand in hand, as you would say probably too, Sophia, just the census and redistricting. And, you know, some questions have come up, but I will definitely ask them after we're done with the panel's questions, if you don't mind. Now we're going with Ms. Cynthia. And this is important information because not only are we talking about representation at a political level, also the corporations are very important. And Ms. Cynthia, the Latino Corporate Directors Association has been tracking the number of Latinas on California public company boards. What have they found? I'm also very interested about finding this out. Ms. Cynthia.
Sandra, thank you so much for that question. And I really appreciate the points made by both Sophia and Celinda that we're seeing is at the end of the day, numbers matter, not just also in the public sector, but as well as the private sector. And that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about. LCDA this week published their Q1 quarterly board representation scorecard. And it was also shared in an article in the Sacramento Bee that some of you might have already read. And our findings show that there's still much work to be done. Latinos are invisible in boardrooms, with Latinas trailing far behind. Our initial research found that despite the size and economic strength of the California Latino population, Hispanic directors are the most underrepresented in California public company boardrooms. Diversity without Latinos is just simply incomplete. We are 2 in 10 Americans and growing over 1 million annually. Latinos right now account for 82% of new entrants to the workplace. And there are 678 public companies in California with 5,610 directorships. Now we're looking at 25.7% of corporate boards fail to include any ethnic or racial diversity. And 83.2% of companies lack a Latino or Latina director. As we know, Latinos comprise 39% of the California population, but yet we hold only 2.3% of corporate board seats and only 1% for Latinas specifically. According to our data, we found that the number is actually decreasing. It's not getting better. And transparency here is key. In examining the corporate board appointments from July 1st of 2020 to March 31st of this year, Latinos are trailing behind with 29 appointments and Latinas appointed to only 17 directorships. In further examining the breakdown of race and ethnicity of female appointments during the last 9 months, 240 corporate board positions were represented by white females, 64 by Asian, 53 by Black, and in comparison to the 17 board seats held by Latinas. There is an ample supply of qualified Latina talent, and it's accessible to these public traded companies. So we really have a lot to do here, not just as in the public sector, as my colleagues pointed out, but in the private sector too. So we're really showing here that this issue of representation matters.
Yes, definitely, Cynthia. And it's just alarming to hear those numbers and knowing, like you said, that such a big part of the population in California is of Latino origin. And I can't, you know, I don't know, it's just not comprehensible to know that some of these companies are not including us at the table. So it's definitely a subject to touch. And at the same time, we're also going to talk about going back into the representation in the community on the public table, because this year Hope is proud. Thank you, Cynthia. We will follow up with these other questions regarding the next subject, because this year Hope is proud to sponsor SB 7702, authored by Senator Monique Limon. And this bill seeks to require the Office of the Governor to release an annual and public report that shows the demographic composition of appointments made to statewide boards and commissions. This report will ultimately serve as a tool to highlight gaps in representation on boards and commissions. And of course, Hope believes our stated democracy is stronger when everyone has a seat at the table, which a lot of us hope would happen at the corporate level too, Cynthia. We're going to start with Sophia. And Sophia, why does representation matter? Are communities better served when the decision makers reflects them?
Absolutely. That's I think a no-brainer, and everyone understands that. And while in my work, we may not work with a lot of state or commissions. The main one we work with is that state redistricting commission. Creating districts that actually represent your community and that allow for minority representative to run will diversify what's happening at the local level. There's a lot of still all white boards across the country, or across the state and across the country, where they are in charge of school districts, community college districts, water districts, where you have a very diverse population. But if we're thinking about numbers, and if we're talking about running for an elected candidacy, if someone does an analysis and asks for a data person to analyze, if I run, do I actually have a chance to get elected? And they say no, that's kind of a tough decision to make. So we want to create districts that actually say, yes, you really have a good chance to win. You would be great for this board. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's still a lot of districts that aren't representative of our state at all. And we want to note too that agencies do better work. They have a better understanding of their community when it is representative of their community. And this is also good government, but it also gives more confidence in our governing bodies from the public's perspective when we see folks who are from our community. I mean, we all are experts of our community. We all understand the nuances. We all know where the good taco place is, and where the good grocery store is, and where's the best store to buy clothes, and but also which neighborhoods have bike lanes, and which neighborhoods flood when it rains, and which neighborhoods have dog parks with lights on them. So we all understand from a personal perspective which neighborhoods within our city have more money for infrastructure, have more money for schools, and all those decisions, all those budget decisions are made by local boards. And so again, this redistricting process it creates an opportunity if it's done in a way that's transparent, if it's done in a way that allows for community to have the opportunity to speak, then it will allow for a 10-decade term for folks to really get elected. So again, I want to just reiterate 2 points, because again, I know it's a process that not everyone is familiar with. So community of interest testimony, or just your public testimony, is your right. It's your right to talk to your elected officials. It's your right to talk to these boards. And again, I will send more of these worksheets so that we can all work on our good testimony together. But it's about asking yourself what my community has a common interest. What is the geography of my community? Because we're talking about mapping. And then what impact will my community have related to the local jurisdiction? So if it's split, does that have a huge impact? Or if it's kept together, is that better for you? And then while we might have some independent commissions across the state, including the state one, and while we have the Fair Maps Act for counties and cities, there's still a lot of jurisdictions where the incumbents are the ones who are going to be the final say on the maps. So again, pushing for the Fair Maps Act criteria, pushing for them to collaborate and work with community-based organizations, and to post maps 7 days prior. Those are really tangible things that we can all do in this process. Yeah, so I'll end it at that, but I just again want to reiterate, absolutely, we all know that more representation makes for better government, makes for more confidence, and I think everyone wants to see that right now. I think everyone wants for our government to have more confidence in our elected officials again.
Definitely. Thank you, Sophia. And the involvement of the community does matter. So thank you. We have two more questions with the panel here on our specific program, and then we'll go to the Q&A by the audience. Ms. Cynthia, how does having Latinas on corporate boards improve them?
And Sandra, thanks again for that great question. And I do appreciate the point that Sophia made, that simply diverse organizations just operate better. They're more productive. They're just all around much better, whether it be on the public sector or the private sector. But simply in looking at how Latinas improve corporate boards, it really comes down to economics. Latinas are the fastest growing consumer base for most companies. How can companies respond to changing trends in the marketplace without the Latina perspective in the boardroom? We represent the fastest growing segment of California and the US population. Latinas make up 19% of California's population, ahead of all other race and ethnicities. Also, Latinas are leading the way in business formation. We are entrepreneurs, even according to some of the data that Hope has collected through some of their publications. Latinas wield a powerful tool. We control the purse strings for our community, and we drive consumption. No company should be without the Latina opinion before making billions of dollars of investments in products and services. This can result in a loss of market share, missed market opportunity, and basically compromise the corporate culture. Experts agree that it is critical for corporate boardrooms to reflect their customers. And specifically, Latino consumers contribute 2.6 trillion, or 25% of the US GDP. Latino GDP and consumer consumption have increased over the last decade, driven by higher educational attainment rates and growth in wage and income. US Latinos are 18% of the population, 61 million, and we're growing 1 million year after year. So there are obvious points as to the impact, and it really comes down to money as to what effects and impacts Latinos, specifically Latinas, are making in corporate America.
Amazing information. Thank you, Ms. Cynthia. And what we could be doing, imagine if we were well represented in this workforce. We are well represented in the commission force by Ms. Celinda. How do you think your influence, your voice has influenced conversations, Ms. Celinda? And what do you want our audience to know about serving on boards and commissions?
Thank you. And Cynthia, those data points are just mind-blowing. And Sophia, the amount of just all of the different various points that we can get involved is so powerful. As a commissioner, and I'm thinking specifically about Senator Limon's Senate Bill 702 that was just heard last week. The commission has the opportunity to weigh in on legislation, to take positions. All commissions do in the state. And, when our policy committee met, the bill was not on in the packet, and that happens. It's a very common thing that happens. It happens in our organization, in my day job as well. But because I am on the commission and I was following what the priorities are for Hope and other organizations, I brought up the bill and I asked, what are we doing? Why, can we look at this bill and take a position? Of course, I recommend a support position. So I think, that's one example, just one example of a bill that was not in an agenda, because that happens, but that a commissioner like ourselves, like myself, like any of us that serve, can say, hey, what about this bill? This would allow for transparency. It's pretty straightforward. All we want to know are what the numbers are. We just want this data to be reported to the office of the governor, and we want it to be published on a website. That's not very hard to do. We have the data. So Senator Limon's bill is just one example of how a commission and how a commissioner can influence a position. And also, you know, if you serve with elected officials on a commission, like I do with the Commission on the Status of Women, or if your work, your whole body of work has been in establishing very productive, well-regarded relationships with legislators, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, you're on this committee that's going to be listening to this bill. We need your support to get it out. And that's what we can do. We can do that without being on a commission, but the power of having the commission behind you amplifies that need and that advocacy effort. And I think that is why we need more Latinas on our commissions, on our boards, in the redistricting process, and both not just in the public space, but in the private sector, as Cynthia has laid out.
Definitely. Ms. Celinda, would you like to answer this following question from our public, or Sophia, you can as well, since you mentioned this topic? From Susana Sandoval, it says, can you share the legislation regarding the Transparency Act? If one of you could answer that, so we can actually get as many questions as possible.
Was that for Senate Bill 702 or the act that Sophia was referring to?
It's my understanding that it might be Sophia's legislation that she mentioned. Sophia, would you like to answer?
Yeah, of course. It's called AB 849. It was a bill sponsored by Assemblymember Bonta, otherwise known as the Fair Maps Act. So you can Google that, read more about the bill, or other, Fair Maps Act or AB 849. That's the name of it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now the following question is, how will California losing a congressional seat impact Latinas? This one is open to whoever would like to answer. Sophia, Celinda, Ms. Cynthia, whoever would like to answer that one. Go ahead.
I can take a first stab at that. This is a question we're going to get a lot, as our boss says. California lost one seat, so instead of having 53 congressional seats, we'll have 52. And we were projected to lose more than that, but I think we need to really point to our legislator, our governor, and everyone who was involved in the census outreach effort last year. Our state dumped, I think it was 100 and correct me, it was a while ago, 160, a lot of money, and someone else can mention the number if they remember. So they dumped a lot of money to create a really robust outreach plan, because we know that Los Angeles is the most diverse county in the whole country. And so we thought we would lose more, but we did lose one. And that doesn't mean that one seat just like falls off, or that one seat, we know who specifically it's going to be. It's going to be more of a conversation. There might be someone who retires. There might be someone who decides not to run. But we do know, we are projected that there will be more opportunity to actually create more majority minority seats. I don't want to get too technical, but under the Federal Voting Rights Act, there's a Section 2 and Section 5, and I can share more of that information. But what that means is one of the Section 5 is no longer in play right now. So Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act gives more opportunity for our state commission to really create seats that are majority minority. And so actually we think there is more opportunity to create more Latino districts, even though we did lose one seat on the congressional level. So again, it's going to be really interesting. We don't have the specific numbers. Those numbers aren't projected to come out until the end of September. Yeah, we do think, at least in California, because we have an independent commission, there's probably more opportunity for more Latino seats. In other states where there are no independent commissions or Republican held commissions, even though we think that a lot of the growth that happened in those states is due to Latinos, is due to other minority populations moving to those states. That might not be the case, but in California, we'll just have to see. We won't really know until the data comes out.
Very well. Thank you so much, Sophia. Ms. Cynthia, this one is for you, I would say. It says, what is an actionable step we can take if interest in serving on a corporate board, along with most important items to consider?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, anyone who participated in the advocacy efforts for SB 826 or AB 979, that was the biggest lift, right? It's like we needed to make these companies accountable for having representation on their boards. But going forward, there are various organizations, obviously Latino Corporate Directors Association being one of them, that is creating a pipeline of highly skilled executives and national leaders. So I do welcome everyone to check out our website at latinocorporatedirectors.org and consider, going through the application process. Obviously, one of the big things that we've talked about through the HOPE program, whether it be HLI or our annual programming, is that it's mentorship is very important. So if you are looking, just as like, for example, if you're looking at serving on a public board or wanting to be an elected official, you also should consider, is if you want to be a corporate director, broadening your network, looking for a mentor within that space, and looking at your options as how you could put yourself into that pipeline. I myself have been looking at corporate board positions for a very long time, preparing myself and building my areas of expertise. Right now, I'm at Stanford Graduate School of Business 16 years later after finishing my master's program. So I think that it's important to know that we're always learning, always building those tools in our toolbox. Every experience matters. All the networking that we do on a daily basis matters, but expanding that out of, like, especially, the Latinas that are part of the public sector, that work in the Capitol and whatnot, go out of your comfort zone and look at the private sector, and you'll actually be very surprised. There are people that are more than willing to advise and mentor you along the way. So that would be my recommendation.
Great recommendations and congratulations. I mean, I think going back to school, if we would love to, or studying something new to reinvent ourselves, I know, but you're making a huge difference. So thank you, Ms. Cynthia, for all that. And well, this brings us to the next question by Veronica Landis Ortiz. She says, what is the root cause of the lack of Latinas representations in boardrooms? I don't know if Ms. Celinda would like to pitch in on this. And then maybe you can help us with the following one, Ms. Cynthia, because it also has to do with corporate representation. So Ms. Celinda, would you like to answer this one?
Absolutely. And I think it's we've said it already. I think there's so many missed opportunities when you do not have Latinas in those rooms, at the table, on a commission, on a board, in an elected position as well. And really, it's the opportunity to advocate, right, with our lived experience and our subject matter expertise. We all have subject matter expertise. We all have a lived experience. And so what happens when we're not on a commission, when we're not at the table, the decision-making table, those considerations will not come up. So the power of representation is that we can actually make policy change. We can ask the hard questions. We know how to do hard things. Latinas can do hard things. And that's really, it shouldn't be this hard in 2021, but it is hard. And we still have to push through. And again, what happens is we have missed opportunities. Sophia's point around losing a congressional seat it hurts my heart, but there's also an opportunity, as she mentioned, right, to look at how we can actually flip this around. And so if Sophia's not there, if others like Cynthia are not there, if I'm not there, if Sandra's not there, if all of the participants in this Latina Action Day are not there, the missed opportunities are real for our community. And that is why we have to challenge ourselves. Even if you're in the public sector, I've been in the public sector my whole life. Cynthia, I might call you, I might need a mentor, even at my age. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to challenge ourselves.
Very well. Thank you, Ms. Celinda. We have very little time. I think it's only one more question for us, and I would like to ask this one because I consider it as important as the others. But very fast, Miss Cynthia, someone is mentioning if going into a nonprofit will actually help stepping up the stone to go to corporate. Would you say yes, Miss Cynthia, just very fast?
Absolutely, yes, because just on a quick mention, the structure of a nonprofit board, they still have committees like the audit committee and corporate governance committee. So the actual structure mirrors the private sector in many ways. So it is a learning point and a stepping stone to corporate service.
Very well. So this last question, maybe Ms. Sophia, Ms. Celinda, if you want to share it, how do we keep Latinx leaders, political, corporate, or public, accountable? Sometimes being Latinx is not enough if they are not prioritizing our community. It's a great question. So Sophia, if you guys would like to share it, we don't have a lot of time, maybe like a minute, we can do that.
Yeah, I can start. There are a lot of community groups, there's a lot of nonprofits, there's a lot of community leaders. So I think if you are in an elected board, don't forget who helped you get there. Don't forget the networks that you're a part of. Don't forget, even if you go into a different class, that there are a lot of issues that Latinos in general are facing. So, I mean, with your mask on, go talk to people, go call people, go touch base with all those networks that already around in your community, and don't just stay in your office and not talk to anybody. I think that relates to my work specifically, a lot of work, you know, just because you're there and or helped to get there, but it's helpful to always touch base with your community around you.
Speak up, right? Like our parents say.
I think to add to that, speak up, it's really owning our power. We have a lot of power. It's owning our power. It's holding our elected officials or commissioners, board members accountable. And we have the power to do that. We elect folks, we nominate folks, we appoint folks. We have the power to hold people accountable, even if you're Latinx and you are not representing the interests of our community. We can hold you accountable by owning our power.
Very well said by all of you. Thank you very much, Cynthia, Sophia, and Celinda. I'm used to saying Miss, it's just, yeah, me acostumbré. Así me educaron mis papás. Usted.
Tienes modales.
Right? It has nothing to do with age, by the way.
That's okay.
Just out of respect to all of you. Thank you very much, Cynthia, Sophia, and Linda, for this great dialogue, of course, about the importance of seeing Latinas in all levels of leadership. And of course, the work that you do is impressive. Thank you for representing us so well in the fields that you do. And well, this also concludes my time as your moderator. As your host, it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much to Hope for inviting me once again for this wonderful event. It's definitely been an experience for me, a learning experience. And thank you also for our team here at Telemundo 52, Lisette Carvajal, que es nuestra líder de comunicaciones, community affairs. Thank you, Lisette. And before I go, I would like to take this time to welcome Senator Monique Limon, mejor dicho, to the virtual state. Senator Monique Limon was elected to the Senate in November of 2020 and represents the 19th Senate District that includes all of the county of Santa Barbara, as well as over half of the county of Ventura. She's a proud Hope Binational Fellow and the author of Hope's Priority Bill, as you heard, SB 702, which she will share more about in just a moment. So we would like to welcome her and this speech. And thank you all. We hope you can watch us in Telemundo 52 at 5 to 7 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Senator Monique Limon representing Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. I know that you're participating in HOPE's Latina Action Day conference, and I wish that I could be there in person greeting you all. However, I know that virtually you'll still make an impact and get a lot out of this conference. As some of you may know, HOPE and I have teamed up for Senate Bill 702. SB 702 requires the governor's office to convene a working group by March 1st of 2022 to make recommendations on the most effective way to ensure the state leaderships, board and commissions reflect the diversity of our state. It is extremely important to ensure that California leadership reflect our state's population. The collection of gubernatorial appointee demographic data is a critical step to achieving gender, racial, and ethnic equity on boards and commissions. The work we are doing is consistent with previous efforts by the legislature to ensure diversity and representation at all levels of the decision making. Thank you for your leadership, your advocacy, and your passion to ensure that California has equitable representation in decision-making boards and for highlighting important issues that impact and affect all of our communities across the state. Your input and voice are extremely important in our local, state, and federal government. Your stories, your tenacity, everything that you do are refreshing and inspire, so please continue to share them with elected officials as you continue your advocacy day. Thank you all again for all that you are doing for Latinas and for all of our communities, and I look forward to the day that we can meet in person.
Wow, what a special and incredible message by Senator Limon. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Spagnoli. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with you for the past 3 days to really shepherd our advocacy pieces. Today, we are drilling down on SB 702 for several reasons. One, this is HOPE's priority bill. And two, we believe the heart and soul of this mission is that representation does matter. And as you heard from our amazing panel, advocacy is a critical piece to that representation. HOPE is proud that this year we are expanding our efforts by using digital advocacy, and I'm so happy to introduce a few new elements to today's advocacy. We will be uplifting SB 702, and HOPE has created a website dedicated to this bill so that we can ensure it gets to the governor's desk and hopefully his signature in October. We are forming a statewide coalition to help us shepherd this bill. We know this bill will not only impact Latinas, it'll positively impact lots of communities across the state. And this data will be a tool to show us what voices and communities are missing from decision-making and how we can engage them and promote more diversity on gubernatorial boards and commissions. I'm going to share my screen and show you all the incredible website that HOPE has built to support this advocacy. It'll also be linked in the chat. And so we are so proud to show this website. You'll see we'll be using a California like me as our hashtag. As I mentioned, we want to build a statewide coalition of over 100 organizations to join our efforts. I'll go ahead and show you the fun stuff on our website. And as it's being dropped into the chat, you'll see the advocacy piece is embedded in this site. Hashtag A California Like Me will guide our campaign. Here's information about our bill and why it matters to us. On this right hand, you will see that we have outlined the steps of the legislation for those who don't do policy all the time but want to engage. We'll be updating this as it moves through the process. Between now and October, you will see movement. We are so happy to share that our bill passed the Senate Judiciary Committee last night in committee. Right now, our final vote is 7-0, and that might update to be a 9-0 vote. Next up, we're headed to Senate Appropriations. On this left-hand side, you will see our advocacy tool. We've embedded it here. So this is a one-stop shop for all of the things related to SB 702, and you can go ahead and generate your information. I'm gonna make a very, hopefully persuasive plea that you all spend some time to customize this letter of support. Why does Latina representation matter to you? And why should your specific legislators vote aye on SB 702? By clicking in this box, you can add your name, your city, and it's important to note that you are a constituent of this district, of the legislators that have been populated for you. Personal narrative here is powerful. Your expertise as someone who grew up in your community in this district is powerful. Please, please, please take a moment to tailor this message and infuse your own flavor, add some context. Why does SB 702 and why does Latina representation matter? You also have the option to promote this work on your social media channels by connecting to Twitter. We will be using a California Like Me, and I'm looking to you all, our amazing Hope Network, to help us amplify this work. We have a goal of hundreds of advocacy actions today, so please go ahead and get started if you haven't already. Below, you'll see we have more information about what the bill does, how SB 702 is the solution, and our amazing author, Senator Monique Limon, who is shepherding this bill as an alumni herself, and alumni, there's also HLI alumni in her office who are shepherding our bill, so we know we are in good hands. Below, you'll see some of our supporters. This is a first step. I definitely want to shout out Latino Corporate Directors Association and shout out the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley. Very swift responses when we asked them, would you support our bill? And they said, yes, absolutely. Also the Latino Donor Collaborative, Courage California, and Cause. These are just a few, but our goal is to have a coalition of over 100 organizations. So we've linked this page for our event today. If you all can bookmark it, we will be updating this actively, and we're looking to the Hope Network to, one, help advocate for the bill today, 2, use our hashtag A California Like Me to help amplify our work, and 3, stay engaged all year long to see if we can get our bill passed. I know through collective advocacy, we have the power to raise our voices, make sure they're loud, to ensure this gets passed. So I'll stop sharing. We'll be here hanging out. I'll be tracking some of the responses, but thank you all for joining us today. Your voices matter. You have an opportunity to make calls right this second. You have an opportunity to engage your legislators, and we need it. Hope is a small but mighty team. I'm about to hit my 1-year mark, and I'm just so impressed how much work the team does, and it's really connected to the power of your voices, the Hope Network, who take this and run with it and make it bigger and better in everything you do. So thank you so much. We're going to spend a little bit of time doing that. I'll be reading off the comments here, but like I said, please tailor your messages, call your legislators, and let's see how many advocacy actions we can get completed today. I see 230 folks here with us today. We would love to see 230 advocacy actions today. So let's go, let's go, let's go. Thank you. Wonderful. I see Rosalie mentioned in the comments that she's been told it's important to write that you are a constituent or provide your role. So she tailored her message to say that, yes, by making sure you tag it as a constituent, your letter, your call gets officially added to the record for the office. It's a critical piece. Thank you so much, Rosalie. All right, I see, it looks like Darcy just sent one. incredible. You see our hashtags, a California like me. Oh, yes. Hopefully next year we're at a rally in front of the Capitol steps and we're doing this physically. But for this year, we really appreciate this. Wonderful. More letters to Assemblywoman Carrillo and Senator Durazo. Wow. We see state senator that voted yes on this. Wow. This is incredible. Just sent. Thank you, Tracy. We appreciate it. I'm going to scroll up because I think I missed a few. Oh, I see Gabby. Thank you, Gabby. We really do appreciate the support from the Latina Coalition. Incredible. Thank you, Linda. So Linda wrote, "Our voices matter," in supporting SB 702 for California Like Me matters. Oh yes, anything on social media would be incredible. And this will be going on all day long. So if you see anything, please repost it. Hope will be active on social media as well, and we'll be reposting. But this is our baby. This is Hope's bill, right? So it's really up to us and our network to make sure legislators know why this matters and why it matters to our communities. Wonderful. I see a few more. Sophia just sent and added on social media. Thank you so much, Sophia. Incredible. And I still see over 200 people on, so I'm really hoping we hit that 200 mark. That would be incredible. Great. Assemblywoman Rivas, Senator Hertzberg. These are critical legislators, and we need every vote. We want every vote possible to pass this. Oh, Fremont, that's great. I'm so glad we're representing Fremont today. Awesome, awesome. And I see Lisa completed it. Thank you, Lisa. Kendra, thank you, representing Sacramento. Powerful, really, really important. Our voices matter too, even though the Capitol's here. Our advocacy is really important. Thank you, Carolyn. All right, ladies, we appreciate it so much. Oh, great. I see a letter was sent to Speaker Rendon and Senator Gonzalez. This is so important. Having the speaker support would be a huge win for the organization. We have representation from San Luis Obispo. And what I love about this is we have such a diverse spread of amazing Latinas from across the state. We're hitting so many different legislative offices today. And the team's dropping the link again. Thank you all. So we're gonna go ahead and keep this going all day long. I'm so happy to invite up Hope's fearless leader, Helen Torres, and our board chair, Rosie. Actually, I think Rosie will be offering some closing remarks today. And it has been so great to work with Rosie on this and several other items. Welcome, Rosie.
Hello, and thank you, Vanessa, for all the incredible work around Latina Action Day and all you have done to expand Hope's policy work. I love this advocacy tool. It really is just, Latinas in action. And so just really grateful for the time to be in community with all of you. These have been an incredible 3 days of learning and advocacy on behalf of Latinas and our communities. And I want to congratulate everyone in attendance for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us these past 3 mornings. It is a joy to have this space, to be in community, and to learn how we can support each other. For me, my main takeaway from this conference is that this is a moment in time where bold action is needed to address the challenges our communities are facing. And Latinas have an important voice and role to play to advance much needed change and policies that are rooted on equity, opportunity, and access, to ensure that our communities are not an afterthought, as was mentioned in the earlier panel today. It is in these moments that leadership is ever more critical. And as we can see, the challenges are so deep that no one sector can address them. And what I love about Latina Action Day is that we can work together in collaboration to advance real meaningful change that really sticks. And that as we work together and uplifting each other, we can maximize our collective impact. I'm so grateful to all of the amazing advocates who have joined us. I also want to thank our speakers, Supervisor Nora Vargas, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, Senator Monique Limon, Brenda Palomino, Cynthia Guerrero, Sophia Garcia, and Celinda Vázquez for your insights today. And a big thanks to our moderator, Sandra O'Neill. We so appreciate your time. We would be remiss not to thank the sponsors who power our work. Thank you to our co-title sponsors, Amazon and Chevron, Hope Strategic sponsors, Southwest Airlines and Wells Fargo, Executive Club sponsors, Comcast, NBC Universal Telemundo Enterprises, Kaiser Permanente, SEIU California, and Planned Parenthood California, and the Planned Parenthood Los Angeles County and Orange and San Bernardino County affiliates. And our Senate Club sponsors, AT&T, Facebook, Marathon, Spectrum, Starbucks, and Valero. Thank you. Hope is also a proud grantee of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we thank them for their support. Many thanks to all our generous sponsors and community affiliates for helping us make the 27th Annual Latina Action Day a success. And finally, I want to thank the incredible women who volunteered their time to the Latina Action Day Planning Committee and brought this event to life. Celinda Vázquez, Sandra Magaña Cuellar, Vanessa Cajina, also Hope Board member, Angelica Gonzalez, Violeta Aguilar Rierick, Gabby Chavez Lopez, Josefina Canchola, Christine Scott, Laura Parra, and Norma Rojas. Gracias, amigas. As our event comes to a close, we hope your advocacy and involvement with Hope continues. We invite you to continue taking part in our programming all year long. You can stay up to date on our events and programs by following us on social media and by signing up to our newsletter. The Hope team is sharing those links in the chat right now. If you signed up for the event on Zoom, you will receive a survey link via email. We truly appreciate your feedback, so we hope you can take a couple of minutes to complete it. By filling out your evaluation, you are automatically entering to win an Estee Lauder gift basket valued at $200. We will be giving away 5 gift baskets. When Latinas take actions, our communities are stronger. I encourage you all to stay involved, stay informed, and make your voice heard in the political process. Join Hope as a member to receive policy updates, reports on the status of Latinas, and member-only leadership training opportunities by going to latinas.org. Thank you, and we'll see you next year at Hope's Latina Action Day. Thank you.